So let's say your teacher gives you a problem that looks something like this. All it says is simplify, and then you have a combination of numbers and variables split up by addition and subtraction signs. So how do we even start this? Well, first, what it means to simplify is essentially take this expression and make it smaller. How do we do that? We do it by combining like terms. And that brings us to the next question, which is, well, what are like terms? So in this video, we'll talk about what are like terms, how do we combine them, and thus, how do we simplify an expression? A term is a number, a variable, or some combination of the two that's split up by an addition or subtraction sign. So in the example I gave to start, 3x plus 5 minus 2x plus y minus 1, all of the individual terms are the things split up by addition or subtraction. So 3x is a term. 5 is a term. Negative 2x is a term. Positive y and negative 1, those are all terms. Now you see below I have written always use the sign to the left of each term. That's going to come into play when we start combining these. The sign to the left is what's associated with each term. So that's how I know whether I have a positive one or a negative one, if I'm adding 3 or subtracting 3. So now that we know what terms are, the next two things we need to know are what is a coefficient and what is a constant. Now those come into play when we actually start simplifying these things. So a coefficient is the number that's multiplied by a variable. So as you can see in this expression, 3 is a coefficient. It's a coefficient to x. Negative 2 is the coefficient for x in the other term. And then there is actually a coefficient next to that y. It's actually 1. We just don't write 1 next to a variable. All right, the other term is called a constant. Now a constant is simply just a number that's by itself. So we have two of those in this problem, the positive 5 and the negative 1. Those are both constants. The reason we refer to them as constants is because there's no variable associated with them. So that means that term will never change. That positive 5 is always going to be a positive 5. Okay, so lastly, what are like terms? Because those are the things we'll be combining to simplify these expressions. Like terms are two or more terms that have the same variable, or if they have multiple variables, they have to have the same exact variables. And each of those variables, if they have an exponent, need to share the same corresponding exponent. All right, let's take a look at the original problem that we started off with in this video, and let's actually simplify it. So if I start with 3x, what term is similar to that in this expression? The only other term is negative 2x. So those are the two that I will combine to simplify. Now how I do that is I actually only combine the coefficients. So I don't do anything with the variables. The variables are more like identifiers for which terms are able to be combined. So 3 minus 2 gives me x. The next term is positive 5. And again, I associate that sign to the left of the 5 when I'm simplifying. So I know it's a positive 5. And then minus 1. 5 minus 1 is plus 4. The only other term left now is this plus y. And so since there's no other like term that it contains a y, I just write this down below with my other simplified terms, and that's my final answer. All right, here's one more example. And this one now does contain some exponents, so a little bit more fun here. First term, 14x squared. Is there another term in this that has x squared? Yes, there is negative x squared. Now, what about this 2x? Because they have the same variables. Both of them have an x. Remember, the exponent is what differentiates these two. Since 2x does not contain the exponent of 2, it is not a like term. So I'm not going to combine it with the 14 and the minus 1x squared. So 14x squared minus x squared gives me 13x squared. All right, next, negative 5y minus 3y. So I have negative 5 minus 3 gives me negative 8y. There's no other terms that I can combine with the plus 2x. So I'll write that in there, plus 2x. And similarly with my plus 1, there's no other terms I can combine with the plus 1. So I just write that down at the bottom. And now this expression is simplified. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos similar to this.